It's the future.
Wow.
Holy medulla oblongata.
I don't even know what that is anymore. Something in there, right? That brain.
Anymore? Like at one point you knew, and then now
Yeah.
all of this.
You ever had that feeling before? You're like, oh, I think I know what that is, but I don't.
Do you know what a
Yeah.
uvula is? Ooh.
I mean, it's definitely like a private part.
Yeah, it's private, all right.
It's
The dangly thing. in
oh,
your throat.
that's it. I thought it was down.
Oh, you thought it was vulva. Okay, good. Okay.
Oh, that's a car, isn't it?
Welcome one, welcome all to It's the Future podcast,
episode 68.
68.
Yeah, 68.
Wow.
Man, it's a good episode too, because we've got boy, do we have a special
Boy, we got a banger.
guest.
We got a banger.
But before we
it's
get
also brought to you by Killcliff CBD drinks.
It's not at all.
Go ahead
We don't
and check that out.
not
online.
affiliated with them. They're not giving us any money. No free
Well, it
ads.
doesn't matter, but I want to support them. We got Kirby Puckett in front of us, and I'm Matt Lazier. So
This is me right here. Kirby
Yeah,
Puckett Jr.
You literally just showed your shoulder.
I don't want to turn around. Oh yeah, so I wanted to bring this up because I was listening to old episodes and posting them and stuff. One of our first episode, we named it "I Don't Even Know Who You Are" because we had been friends for probably a couple of years at that point.
Yeah.
And then because we did the podcast, I learned that you were originally from Arkansas, which I had no idea.
You know, that pisses me off. Like, there's things that I tell you, even to this day, that you're like, you've never told me that.
Well, it never registered with me. So,
Right.
I mean, that's
Because you don't listen. You wait till the next person's done talking, and then you talk.
it's hard. Talking is hard.
Scallywag. You're a scallywag.
No, something that came up recently is so I have been, I'm going to say for the better part of my life, played the game of golf. You know, where you swing.
Oh my God. I cannot wait to see your swing. I don't care what you think about
funny
my
is
swing.
that
I can't wait.
So it recently came to my attention that you now play golf, which I didn't even know you had golf clubs.
You're
Do you
saying
even have
like it's
your
a
own,
new. You're saying it's like a new development.
do you even have your own golf clubs? You do? Let me see them.
Our TaylorMade's good. Our TaylorMade's good.
Wow.
It's awesome.
We've never had a conversation that I can recall that has been like, hey, I golf and hey, I golf too.
We've never needed to go to a golf place together, I guess.
In our like 10-year friendship.
Romantic relationship.
Yeah. Heterosexual relationship.
Yeah.
We've never talked about golfing, but you golf, you said avidly, right?
I mean, listen, I can crank yank a ball. All you got to do is talk to Matt Shaves. Shout out Matt Shaves. He'll tell you.
I'm going to talk to him.
Just talk to him just a little bit. Say, is he any good at all? And then I think he'll say, he's pretty good.
There's a thing though about golf, and this is true in life, that is one word that always comes to mind when I think of you. No, it's honor. There's an honor and an etiquette part of golf that I don't think you've learned. I don't think you've learned that yet.
Here's where it gets interesting. Shaves will, like, we play with other people that join up there at the golf course.
Yeah.
The other people, I'll stick on a par 3. I'll stick it on the green within 3 feet from the hole.
Yeah.
The other guys will say, you know what, just take it. I'll say, you know what, I want to putt. I want to putt through.
Yeah.
I'll putt it, and I might miss that putt, and then it falls within 7 inches, and they consider that a gimme. But I want to hit it, and if I hit it and missed, then he doesn't consider that a par 3. And the other guys are like, we just told you that you could just accept that as a birdie instead of a par. So meaning I feel the need to play through every single putt.
Well, what makes it on the scorecard, a birdie or a par?
Oh, it would be the par.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
okay.
It wouldn't be the birdie. No, that's what I'm suggesting. I'm not fudging numbers. I'm doing the honorable thing. The other guys are telling me to to shiest, to go lower.
Yeah.
And so Chaves like looks at it, he's like, I don't know, I wouldn't do it, man. But then I don't know, whatever. So we'll see when there's a spider over there, dude. We'll see when we go out what the deal
we
is.
will see. We will see who's
I can't wait, dude.
Flibbing numbers on the scorecard.
I can't wait, dude.
But
my God.
I actually have a nickname when I golf with some of my other friends. It's they call me the Big Easy because I swing like really slow, but man, do I hit it straight and far.
Do you?
Yeah.
How far? What's your farthest? What do you drive?
I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
How far do you drive,
dude? Come on.
That's like a similar question. Did you just kill that spider?
Oh shit! He went.
Good.
Uh-oh.
You shouldn't try to kill a spider
speed.
because if you don't kill him, he'll eat you.
Fuck. Anyway, we got the special guest waiting. I don't know if you remember that.
We do remember. I do remember, and we want to bring him in. Long time. I mean, ever since we started this podcast,
huge fan of ours,
and we're a huge fan of him. Equally. So let's bring him in. Without further ado,
drum roll, please.
We've got Mr. Sal Terrezza.
Hey, what's going on, Sal? How are you?
Not much. How are you guys doing?
We're surviving.
We're surviving. I wouldn't say quite thriving, but we're surviving.
Aren't we all?
We were just giving you your due credit of being one of our first guest ever on the podcast, and one of our most adored guests as well. So thank you again for joining us.
We valued your appearance so much that we went to a damn professional studio to get it recorded.
We did. Because back then, my skills in making sure that I didn't mess up the recording were not quite there yet. And our whole first interview was trashed. But it was fun because it was almost like a dress rehearsal, because the second one, I think it was longer, and it was like we were all the cobwebs were worked out, and it just went so well. So
yeah,
really
nice.
Good.
Well, but, it was fun from here too, and congratulations to you, Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about his eyebrows, right?
Yeah.
That too. I see they're coming back.
They are slowly coming back. No, thank you, Sal. I did get. I don't think we've announced this in the show yet, but I have. I have been married legally on paper. I've been wed to a woman. Her name is Sammy.
Well, that's fine. Hey, whatever floats your boat.
She's been great. She's been on the podcast before. It's funny. Sammy and I kind of met on this podcast because we did. We knew of each other, but we never really hung out. Matt invited her to the podcast back when we used to do it in Brighton, and Matt talked for like 50 minutes of a 60-minute podcast.
You were supposed to tell her story, and I just hijacked it and she looked. She was kept looking at me like.
There's one point where he turns to her and goes, "So what's up with you?" But yeah, it's thank you very much. It's we're planning on having a wedding in the fall, but with all the stuff that's going on with the coronavirus, unsure that we could have the wedding we wanted. So, but we still wanted to get married. So we went to the town hall. Surprisingly, very easy to do in the state of Massachusetts. You just go to the town hall. You tell them you want to get married. You pay them $35. And then 3 days later, you're married. It's pretty crazy. So
nice. Well, congratulations.
Thank you, Sal. Appreciate that.
Definitely.
Sal, how have you been keeping yourself busy during quarantine?
Yeah, it's been. I mean, I'm sure just like many others, it's been tough. It's been, I consider myself lucky as one of the fortunate ones to be able to continue working. So for myself, I've been, working remotely, keeping busy. I get up early every morning, just like I'm going to work. I get dressed like I'm going to work and come downstairs. But I will be honest, there is one thing though. I'm on my second pair of slippers.
Where's my room, huh?
I don't get out of my slippers.
I think unlike anybody else in our sphere of influence, you probably actually wear jeans and a shirt, and so you know that your jeans fit. I'm very unaware if anything in that closet over there fits because I've just worn short sweatpants and a hoodie. I mean, that's it. You know?
Matt, take off your hat for a second and show Sal the current state of your hair.
So
it is.
I mean, I just took a shower, so it's not as puffy. But this bad boy extends out at least 4 or 5 inches.
Oh,
I mean,
my goodness.
I know Sal and I have the opposite problem, obviously, since I've shaved my head.
I'm very jealous, but that's okay.
Yep, we're
jealous
both
and like half jealous, half concerned too, because I mean he's gotta go get a haircut.
I haven't even touched the beard at all either, so it's going strong.
Oh my God, no. Well, Kim did do my hair once, but she won't do it again.
Yeah.
Now that things are opening, we're okay. But I'll tell you, working home is a little different, right? Because now you're in a different space. You know, I've been locked in my office here. I started I don't know if you guys can see it. It's a frustration board. Okay.
Wow.
In the basement. You can see the notches. See the notches every day. Okay. So every day it's another notch in the friggin' board.
That's awesome.
Okay.
That's such a good idea.
WTF moments. You know, when can I go back to work? Eggs for dinner again, you know, because I definitely learned don't roll your eyes. I learned that the first day.
Yeah.
I rolled my eyes.
Yeah, you got to be aware. You like looking out for her. You like leaning into whisper.
Continues, right? You're making our heartbeat fast. The stress. I mean, so I do, and then I had to go over to the back and continue with the frustration.
Oh wow! I like how you've highlighted some of them as well too.
And you've got dates on there too to commemorate the stressfulness.
Well, the highlights are repeats. You know.
Oh, okay.
You're on a conference call and the vacuum starts, right? Friggin' Amazon guy shows up at the door, ringing the doorbell, and the door is barking, and you're trying to work. So I recommend the frustration board. I mean,
frustration board.
I think everyone should have something.
We'll have to send that out as a recommendation to our listeners for sure.
I think it's good.
At some point, we also should come down again to your house. I know we've been to your house before, but you have such an impressive office. Like I'm looking at your background and looking at mine, being like, I need to change some things up here. I have like an unmade bed in the background. You have like these like beautiful portraits of things, and when we visited you got to show us your collections of things too, which you're an avid collector of many things.
Yeah.
And that was so cool to when you're a collector. Sometimes I've collected some things, but it's a very personal solo journey.
He means Dungeon and Dragon cards, by the way.
No, I mean Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves cards, mainly and baseball cards. But it's like a very personal thing. You don't get to show people that often. And when you showed me your some of your collections, I could see how much love and just appreciation you had for those things you're collecting, and it was cool to see that. So
thanks, Steve. I get a little bit anal sometimes, alphanumerical, but that's okay. We all have our quirks, right?
Right.
Well, during quarantine, I've been admitted twice to the hospital during quarantine.
Oh, really?
And so once I had an AFib situation, and then the second time I went in for a procedure, and they ended up actually putting in a stent.
Wow!
And I can fill you in more when we get to like your questions on bionics and stuff.
Yeah.
But
because we dub you the Bionic Man for sure.
But definitely trying times, and I'll tell you, in the hospital you get put into a room, you can't have visitors, and the windows were blocked. They had ventilation because of COVID patients, and
that's wild.
It's a completely different world we're living in.
It must have felt like you got smack dab in the middle of like a post-apocalyptic one of those movies. Like you just literally transported right into a movie, It
was very strange. I mean, the halls were dark. I mean, it was very, very strange. It was at the point where Joe was going to come in with some of his army equipment and try and come up through the ventilation to get me out of there.
He's going to exfiltrate you out of there, huh?
Yeah. But I've also been keeping busy with, my daughter Christy and Joe. Yep. And, the never-ending work on their home. So we remodeled the kitchen,
Oh,
put
yeah.
in floors. Christy, when she first moved in, we had to put laundry facilities from the basement to the first floor.
Mm.
And now she's pregnant, so she's due in July. So we had to get the laundry facilities from the first floor to the second floor.
Oh no!
So-
I'm sure she enjoyed more of the supervisorial duties than the actual, construction.
Yeah, and not to mention, the word nesting, because
Yeah.
I'll tell you,
Trigger word. That's a trigger word. Look out.
Yeah.
we've seen
Oh,
it time and time again.
That's so funny. Yeah, and congratulations. I mean, are in order for that. I mean, being a future grandfather, that's going to be exciting too. I know that you already, are currently one now, but with Christy, that's exciting times. So congrats.
Extremely. We just, we're definitely blessed.
Absolutely. Well, we did send you some questions. I think, Matt, do you have them up?
Yeah. I mean, I'm very good at what I do, so it's natural in conversation. It's right to my right here on my phone, if you'd like to know where it is. But, yeah. I mean, and part of that was, kind of just starting the conversation about what you've been doing during the quarantine.
Right.
I think one of the ones that that I've seen on a lot of podcasts. We watched a lot of comedians and stuff like that, and also deep thinkers. They ask each other, if you had unlimited resources, right? What, how would you fix the current pandemic? What's some sort of, outside of the box way you would do if you had, the ability to?
Yeah. I mean, it's really a good question. And it's a tough question, right? I mean, trying to be politically correct, you need to be these days. Not that politics has anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But my world, I would have definitely, seeing what type of a disease this COVID is, I would have absolutely locked down the nursing homes, quarantine the nursing homes, no one in or out. I would focus my funding on that, compensate for it, but protect those that need to be protected. It's also controversial, but I think I would have sent the kids. I would have still sent the kids to schools and have the 70-year-old professors stay home. Right.
Looking at the stats of who this impacted, and and who is higher risk and stuff like that. Right.
Yeah. It's really mixed emotions. But mostly, that's exactly what I would do. I would be emphasizing on the social distancing. I believe it. It's very, this is a disease that's truly out there. It's an epidemic. I get it, a pandemic. I think that the social distancing is important. Wearing the masks is important, right? I was joking before.
Yeah, earlier.
But this is a lifesaver. This is not protecting myself. It's protecting me from you, because we don't know who has this, and we just want to make sure. I've gone into the office a few times, and it's working, the full day with a mask on. I mean, it's not easy, but it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that. My father came down to visit, and of course we're socially distancing on the porch and sharing a beer and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, what is written on your mask? And he wrote, "This mask is not for me, it's for you."
That's great.
The mask.
Yeah.
Because people, he's like, I go to a brewery picking up some beer, and people look at me like I'm crazy, and they're not wearing masks. He's like, look, don't blame me that I'm just following the protocol that, that was set forward, where it's better to be safe than sorry, kind of thing, so.
Right. Exactly. And again, I think it's fun putting on a mask before I go into a bank now.
Yeah.
I think that's the funniest thing. Because before you couldn't even wear your sunglasses in the bank.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you wear a mask into the bank. It's even better.
People don't even look sideways when you're fully masked up now, so.
But in all honesty, we live in a great country. Say what you want about socialism, medicine for all, Medicare for all. I get it, right? I've been one of the fortunate ones. I've been able to maintain with insurances and all, but I get having medicine for all. But I also believe in free enterprise and the democracy that we have in this country. And if you look at it, I mean, compare with the other countries, not a single person in this country needed a ventilator. And I think that's an important statement. I really do. It's tough because, you know, I'd like to be taken care of, right, with social medicine and such, but the free enterprise seemed to be the way to go because it really got us there. It seemed to get us there. And ultimately, a vaccine, I mean, they're working on multiple vaccines right now. It usually takes 18 months, but I think you can see it's getting abbreviated. The vaccine will be out there. This will be behind us. And, you know, many lessons learned.
Let me ask you just a poignant question. Do you think the communication has been effective, efficient, confusing? Because I go back and forth almost week to week, month to month when I'm telling you, I try not to just focus on one news outlet or the other. I try to, get an amalgam of information from different resources, but, just flat out, how do you think the communication has been saying, yes, wear a mask, don't wear it in your car, don't do this? What are your thoughts on that?
So I'm a believer of educating on my own and not having others educate me. So if you're listening to the news out there, the newscasts and whatnot, it's extremely confusing. It's going to be. I mean, just look at the left and the right? I mean, look at the confusion there. The left says this is the way to go. The right, this is the way to go. There's no middle. And I'm a believer in which way do I want to go. So I was educating myself to find out, well, what is the best thing to do? This mask does do a lot for me. And right from the start, even before the outbreak came, we immediately went into the stores when the masks were still there, and we had stocked up on our own masks. So we wouldn't, So, I mean, to answer your question, for the general population, extremely confusing. And
I agree.
And you wonder how much of that is intentional. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's not even that's not even as much of a conspiracy theory as it is because some people will have it painted that way. When you just ask a question, right? But for me, you got to wonder. I mean, who benefits from the mass confusion of a population? It can't be the mom and pop stores. It can't be the middle to lower class. I mean, it has to be that upper echelon people that are in a time of pandemic, in a time of utter need, stuffing their pockets full of cash. That's what I see anyway. So it's a terrible thing to see.
It hurts me to see it because I mean I agree in many of those points that you're bringing up, right? The small businesses, I mean, some of our really best friends own a restaurant. They weren't able to open. I mean, that's their salary. They had 27 people working for them. Right. When I had my little stint where I had to go into the hospital and whatnot, I had to go past them all. I mean, the first time I was out of my house in like 6 weeks, and it's a ghost town. It's scary to see, and it breaks your heart. Everyone, all those people with jobs, what are they doing?
Right.
And this fix with unemployment. Yeah, what's that? That's not even gonna put the food on your table, more or less pay your rent and your bills.
Yeah.
So it's been a very tough lesson learned, I think.
I gotta say, I mean, as someone who moved to part-time along with the rest of our company, essentially, because we work in the travel industry. The CARES Act that was released that allowed the additional, I think it's 600 a week or something like that. I mean, that really might be saving people's lives right now. And I realized the other day, I looked at it, as I was doing my weekly partial unemployment thing, which I have never done and I had no experience in, and it was a wild situation to get into. But when I saw what it's going to be without that CARES Act, there's no way, I'm fortunate that I have saved some money up and I'm not, in a dire situation in that way. But I'm thinking about all of these families, all of these children or all of these, single mothers or whoever, when that goes away,
Right.
what are they going to do?
Right.
It's not like there's going to be job openings anytime soon. It's just,
No.
it's a sad state to see it in, so.
That's why I think you need the balance. I mean, when do you send the people back to work?
Right.
Versus
Yeah.
the, what's going on with this COVID. So.
Yeah. And I would say my experience has been one of, kind of shock and awe, but also anytime something like this happens, and we've obviously never gone through something like this dire, like this big, but for me, I started to now, like I have been unemployed officially like since March 24th now. It's
Wow.
June, what's it, June 19th? So
Right.
quite a while. And I have been collecting unemployment. And what I've done, instead of like just being like, what am I going to do? I started to kind of fall back on some of the skills that I learned in college, which I went to school for TV and radio production. But when I graduated in 2004, there just wasn't any jobs in that field for me to jump into and get a salary. Everything was, hey, yeah, we'll have you get us coffee for a year and we're not going to pay you. Internships. Yeah. And I was like, I need a job now. So I went into, bartending and then eventually into travel as well. So I right away went out and got a new computer, or a new one to me, and started to learn a little bit more about video editing and video production. And Sammy and I took our little band that we have called Root Beer Circus, plug, and we actually were on a talent show for Abington's Got Talent. It was an Abington cable access show, and we got to record a couple videos for them, us playing songs. We covered Joe Exotic from the Tiger King, and we covered an Elton John song from the Lion King, and we actually won the competition.
Wow.
It was incredible, and it was such a cool experience sharing those videos with our family, and sharing some of the or just getting back into something that I originally was a passion for me. So now what I'm trying to do is take this thing as like a negative and try to turn it into a positive of
Right.
Maybe I go back into that field and see, sometimes the universe just changes things up for you. You've got to adapt. So taking an opportunity to try to do something like that is that's just the way I'm trying to look at it. So
I think
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Sal.
I was going to say, I think many of us have experienced that. It's been a time to, take a step back, right? Maybe even smell the roses a little bit. And so that's really, I think that's the positive, making the negative a positive. For sure.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Steve, because a lot of us who are in these different industries, that might be struggling, we probably aren't. That's probably not our major, in some cases, right?
Yeah.
So like, I was sport and rec management, so I have the ability, to go and coach a baseball team, right? I have that experience in the past. So to your point, it's like thinking of, what's my passion versus what am I just doing to pay the bills? And if something that I'm doing to pay the bills isn't, currently working, why not maybe try to switch gears and think about how I can, focus on my passion or something like that. I think that's a great point that everybody can kind of think about and use,
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. So to lighten it up a little bit, to bring us out of this kind of this black hole of pandemic and stuff like that, because it's everywhere that we see. I wanna just kind of get into kind of a bunch of goofy stuff, or just things that that we think about all the time, that we discuss, and just kind of shoot the shit. So I think one of the things we wanted to know, and I'm really intrigued by this question, is what is your favorite band?
Oh,
Because let me just guess real quick. Let me give you an idea of what I think that you like. I don't think it's Slayer, and I don't think it's like Dead Kennedys or anybody like that. I'm thinking like Van Morrison. I see you as like a Van Morrison dude. I don't know why.
I'm
I'm off? damn! Come on.
I think he's I think he's a man of his
ICP.
time. I think he's a
ICP.
huge Beatles fan. That's what I
Beatles.
think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
I can see some Sublime.
I mean,
in there, maybe.
heavy metal was really part of it. But no.
Dude, you would blow my mind if you were like, listen, Slayer was the shit.
No, I'll tell you, that's really a question mostly for Kim with music in our house. But no, I grew up, believe it or not, a John Denver fan.
Oh,
nice.
nice. All right.
Okay.
Rocky Mountain
Heck
High.
yeah. Yep.
And then, of course, with Kim, right? We were definitely more the Boston, Styx.
Okay.
Pink Floyd,
Nice.
Animals, right? That.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
That's
So
a
modern
common
rock,
phase.
yeah, rock and roll. All right.
Yeah. So we were more geared towards that Fleetwood Mac days. Those are really.
Okay.
But going back even before Kim, I was strictly a John Denver guy.
That's great.
I love that. Yeah, you must have had a very low resting heart rate for sure with that. Yeah, I see you as like a silent assassin. You're very calm, but you're very poignant and you get your point across very effectively without raising your voice. That's kind of how I see you.
Yeah, that's
So-
kind of the way it's been.
Yeah. So along a different kind of path here, I think this was a question that Lanza had. So we're all sports fans of different types, right? Whether it's, me loving to go see the Red Sox and just fill my face with beer and hot dogs, or, Lanza loves football. Plays
And Kirby Puckett.
Yeah, Kirby Puckett.
Oh, there
Shout
you
out Kirby Puckett. That's an old school one right there. And I know he's part of like a fantasy football league and all that stuff.
Yep.
I personally like European soccer. It's back on the TV right now, which is great. But if you, Sal, could go back in time, what sporting event would you attend? Like, is there something that stands out?
Yeah. So this is going to be a painful one, and I think for you mostly, Steve, as well with the Patriots. But I would go back to January 14, 2016.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Perfect
man.
season, Super Bowl. I mean, I'm a very
Oh.
historical fan. I mean, that would have been history. Kim and I, to be honest with you, I grew up a diehard Giants fan, but
Yep.
I moved over to the Patriots. When Bill Parcells first came over to the Patriots. And then
Yep.
when he went to the Jets, I couldn't go to the Jets. And then
No, nobody should ever be forced to go to the Jets.
Mm.
then I became a Belichick fan. So
Yep.
so we've been Patriots fans for quite a while, and that was the most exciting season. I mean, a perfect season. How could you beat it? And then I'm just thinking, if I could go back in time to any specific event, that would be a nice one. And then maybe that would be a change. Maybe a football would just kind of tap a helmet and we'd be sitting pretty. But
Can you imagine? Oh my gosh.
It broke my
history
heart.
a bit.
That's a really good one. I remember I was in college at the time, and I was over. We were having a Super Bowl party, and or not a Super Bowl party, but I think it was actually, yeah. And we were at my buddy's condo, and he was renting this condo, and so like he's like telling everybody, hey guys, don't mess with anything in the condo, like be careful, don't spill stuff, this kind of stuff that you tell your bonehead buddies, right? So that infamous play happens, and the finality of what we were seeing and the reality set in that we're not going to win this thing. And I turn around and I see him punch a hole in the condo wall.
Oh no!
Everybody's just going, no, Jordan, no. Like, we were more upset, obviously, in the moment about the Patriots, but we had to focus on him for a second and say, you don't know what you're doing. Oh my God! So I agree. That was a pivotal moment right there. Oh my gosh. Well,
Well, wait, I got one I want to add too. Just to think about sporting events. So if you brought that one up, I would like to bring up late October of 2004.
Don't go there.
So the reason I bring it up is because my grandfather and my uncle are the two biggest Red Sox fans that I've ever known, right? And I remember as a kid, I even remember in 1986, I think, or one of those years, they went to the World Series and they lost, or like one of those years. It was the Buckner year. I remember that vividly.
Yeah.
So getting to sit with them to watch the Red Sox beat the curse and win the first World Series since 1918, like just to be able to see the joy on their faces and be there with them when it happened. I mean, for me, it tops all championships. Of course, now they've gone on to win other World Series, and the Patriots have won so many Super Bowls. We've kind of been spoiled here in Boston.
We're title town, baby.
But now the tide is changing with Tom Brady going to the Buccaneers and bringing Rob Gronkowski out of retirement. Like,
have you guys seen those pictures of them in Tampa Bay Buccaneers jerseys? How weird is that?
It's so weird. But, it's
strange.
You get to see, and I just haven't experienced this because Tom Brady has been my quarterback ever since, I've been a serious fan. And if you look back at other big quarterbacks, all the greats, for the most part, have moved on to another team and then won with that team. So it is very weird to see it, but also it's like I look back at the last 20 years I've watched the Patriots just dominate, and except for those two Super Bowls, so they didn't win, but still, like it's just been so fun to watch, and I appreciate it more because I've while it's happening, you really don't feel, you're like, oh yeah, they're gonna go to the Super Bowl and win every year.
It's an expectation.
Yeah. And now I don't know what's gonna happen with this team this year. I have no idea. So it's the first time in a while I could say that.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be a different season. Different without the GOAT.
Without the GOAT.
Did you guys get a chance to see? I was on Twitter today. Did you guys get a chance to see the proposed new helmets with the COVID protection and stuff?
No.
Oh my gosh! I want to see if I can find that. Can you find it on your thing and share the screen?
I think I can. Yeah, this is something we've learned to do is we can share my screen.
Can you just type in like NFL COVID helmets and see? Yeah, it should pull up. It's a Chicago Bears proposed. It's called COVID-19 series helmet.
Let's see if I can grab some images.
I think it's that first right there.
Wow.
Look at that thing.
Wait, can you guys see it okay? Oh, it's loading up right now. I can see your
screen perfect, yeah. Let's see if it – yeah.
Wow. With that huge – oh, wow, that's crazy.
Sal, can you see that?
Yeah, that's going to be different, that's for sure.
Right?
How are they going to breathe in that?
That's what I'm saying. You're like huffing and puffing.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Just proposed as the new one. Whether they actually decide to do it or not, we'll see.
It's still crazy to me to think that they're actually going to play a season this year. Like, how is that going to look? It's going to be so strange.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's again one of those. This year is just like one of those years where it's you just have to. We have no idea what's going to happen. Essentially, it's no idea. So
it's like unprecedented times on top of unprecedented times on top of unprecedented times.
Right?
It's like it's just.
Yeah. I mean, growing up, 2020 seemed to be like the future out there.
Right.
And all my life, I look forward to what's 2020 going to be like, and now it's like I want to go back.
I genuinely thought it would be the Jetsons by now.
It's coming.
I'm a big fan of Kevin Costner movies, and he has a movie called The Postman. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's set in the future, and we regress back to like old Western times, where like that's kind of what happened. Like the people take over this tyranny, and then we're living back in like the 1850s style.
Wow.
And he brings everybody back because he brings back the U.S. Post Office.
That's wild.
So he starts delivering letters, and it's so corny, and it's way too long. But it's Kevin Costner. He's my favorite. So
well, doesn't he have isn't that a theme with him? I mean, think about Waterworld. Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
That was like 3 hours of hot garbage, dude. That's unbelievable.
But also incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah,
wait, what was the? I forget what the budget on that thing was, but it was something that was.
I'll look at it right now.
It was something
it's crazy.
that was beyond all rational thought, like at the time, especially to have that type of budget for like a movie of that, of that stature. It just kept falling flat. I think they kept just like hemorrhaging money and putting it in and doing all this other stuff. It definitely was not definitely was not a good one.
You guys ever do that sometimes with Waterworld, with movies? You can look them up on Wikipedia and they'll tell you exactly what their budget was.
No, I know about IMDb, but I don't know if anything else.
So the budget for Waterworld was 175 million. And it was made in 1995. So
that's what I'm saying. So with inflation, how much would that be worth?
$1 billion.
No, like probably like 300 million, right?
But it only
like
box office 264 million. So that's usually considered a loss if it doesn't make like more than a couple hundred million over the budget.
Oh, sure.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That is crazy. What Sal, what is your, kind of along with the movie thought process, what's your favorite sci-fi movie? And if applicable, do you think it'll come true? Depending on which way you go with it, do you think that it could be possible, or is it just too far out there?
So sci-fi, I have to say.
Oh, he's taking. We got calls to take.
I'll see you guys.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
For sci-fi, I have to say my favorite of all time has to be Star Wars.
Yes.
Right.
Nice.
That was my first date with my wife in 1977.
No kidding. Did you guys go to see it in the theater?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, you had to have known that it would last if she'd be like, yeah, heck yeah, let's go see Star Wars.
Right, exactly.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's so cool.
Yep. Yeah. So that was it. And do I think it'll come to fruition? Right. Well, space travel is already in the fruition.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I think it's going to continue growing. Living in space could be a thing going forward.
What do you think about this? The private enterprises of like SpaceX and stuff. Like, do you like, when we privatize things, safety, I don't know how it all works, but does safety lack a little bit? Do we have, the private investors for the funding to be able to do the things that NASA used to do and all this, that's kind of like I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, I think that's really the difficult part, right? Private enterprise on something like space travel, in maintaining the safetiness and everything else going on with space, you can't lose that safetiness. I mean, in space, You really have to control your components and everything else going out there. The cost is astronomical, right? SpaceX, they had the one space program where they were going to put internet all around the world. And that, that's where they teamed up with Airbus and whatnot. And now, that's kind of gone bankrupt, right? Because of the money and the drive that it takes. Future space exploration is definitely out there. I think that it will come to fruition, something like a Star Wars. It'll be pretty neat to see, right, coming out there. What do I think an alien would look like, that would be out there?
As far as life out there, like what, because we don't know if non-organic life would be silicon based or something like like that. Like, what do you think it would look like? I mean, it certainly wouldn't. I wouldn't think it'd look like you and me.
No. I mean, I don't even know if you can fathom it. Right? What do we have to go by? We have Alien, right, to go by. Look at Alien, right? But I definitely see it coming to fruition more and more with space travel. And that's really my ultimate sci-fi that I
you know what I've been wondering about is like, as we get closer and closer to this idea of, global warming really kind of being one of the most important things about our civilization being able to move forward a certain amount of, hundreds or thousands of years. Do you think that, at some point the powers that be, whoever they are, do you think that they're going to focus more on outward travel and put more of an emphasis on, hey, we need to terraform, different, possible, whether they're planets that are similar, to our atmosphere and stuff like that? Do you think they're going to just say, you know what, this shit's unsavable. We need to go, out into space to save our civilization. Do you think it will get to that, to that point?
Yeah, I think it'll continue along to that point with the distance in space travel.
Yep.
I'm not really, not to the desperation point of, saving civilization, but maybe
Yeah.
maybe identifying other civilizations that are out there, or
Yeah.
biologically what could be out there.
Yep.
But I do see space travel going further and further. I see, man being in space longer and longer going forward.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. I mean, the last 400 years with technology has done here on Earth with us in the last
Yep.
400 years. You have to fathom that that's where we're going to go next.
Yeah, it seems like with the advances of nanotechnology, especially, we're talking about exponential growth within a very short amount of time. So I tend to agree with you. What about what was I going to say? What about you talked about like the web link falling bankrupt or whatever? Is that no longer like an idea or a thing that's plausible now just because of money?
It's plausible, right?
Yeah.
But again, I think it's almost a start over, come up with funds, and
Yep.
it's tough. I mean, there's some satellites that are out there already into the orbit where they were putting for the internet around the world, and we never got to finish the job. It seems like the only way you get to finish those jobs is when you go like you do with your military, then you go through your government, and then the government has to do it, because privately it's extremely tasking with the money. I mean,
Yeah.
and you run out.
So before we move on to talking about how much of a bionic man you are, I just have one request for you. And this is mainly, and I want you to look in the camera to answer this question. This isn't a surprise thing that we're going to trick you on. It's just something that I need for my peace of mind and for Steve's peace of mind and for one person that I'm thinking of in particular on Facebook that constantly brings this fucking subject up and it makes me want to puke. Can you please just say, the earth is not flat? Would you mind just indulging me in saying that for a second?
I don't know if I can say that.
Yes.
Oh,
that was the perfect answer.
Oh,
that was perfect.
So good.
Oh, I'm crying. Oh.
Oh, Sal, I need it. I need it for my peace of mind.
I think you can still sleep at night as long as you don't stray too far.
Oh my God.
I love that.
Oh,
It was so funny. I had no idea where he was going with that question, but I could have never predicted that answer. That was perfect.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, there's just there's this one gentleman that seems to tell me that I'm unaware of science and physics and things like that enough to tell him that the Earth is an oblate spheroid, which we have observed that in fact it is. But I just wanted to see if I could get some more people on board
more
with
support.
with telling him that he is incorrect, that the Earth is indeed not flat. So
I mean, I just can't give you firsthand information on it.
No. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm just asking you to tell him that he's wrong, basically.
Oh my goodness.
But I respect you pleading the fifth. But we wanted to talk about any upgrades that the bionic man, you yourself, have experienced, or how have the latest ones been working for you and stuff like that.
So again, I mean our prior podcast, right? We talked about this this phenomenal implant that I have, right, from
Yes.
Nevro, where I definitely have a remote control, and I can change my I can change the gain on a frequency, and what this basically does is it mitigates the amount of pain in my body, so I can really not not be solely dependent on medication.
Yep.
Okay.
I
And
think it's
then,
fascinating this time around because we didn't, this was an audio podcast when we spoke to you before. So even seeing something like that puts
Yeah.
into context for either our viewers or our listeners, wow, this is something that's real. It's not just,
It's tangible.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's tangible, so.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's again, it's based from the latest technology, right?
Yep.
And it looks like a little PlayStation thing, but
Yeah.
right. But they put a battery in my back, and then they put
Yep.
the leads going down the spinal cord. And basically, what it does is it puts out a radio frequency signal in 10,000 hertz, as I had said before.
Yep.
And what that signal does is it short circuits the signals from the brain. The pain is in your body, and you're not completely off of medication, but you
Right.
reduce it, and you can
Right.
control the pain. So recently, the pain has been changing a little bit, and
Yep.
and most of the pain has been like in my legs. Now it had moved down into my feet. So what they did, I went back in and they reprogrammed it, and they gave me a different station on my remote where I can now pulse. And pulse does is like it stimulates.
Yep.
It's the future.
See if they can capture pain in different parts of the body.
That's incredible.
Wow.
So
That is-
that's going along very well.
That's
As I had
great.
mentioned earlier, I did have a little situation, whereas I woke up in the morning, and it was during all of this COVID time, and it was like I just felt this fast heart rate in my throat and the tightness around my neck, and I knew something was awry, right?
Now, let me ask you this: have you ever had any anxiety? Because I deal with anxiety and panic disorder. I think my last panic attack was maybe a month ago or something like that. They're very infrequent now that I've gone to the psychiatrist. I've told it on here. I do take medication for it. It seems to suppress that in my swimming thoughts. But sometimes I'm not making this about me, but sometimes I worry. I'm interested to know. I worry because sometimes I feel my heart rate in my throat. I know and mentally it's just my anxiety and my thoughts taken off 100 miles an hour. But, can you speak to the difference between knowing that it's not something that is just, in your mind, but actually physical?
So, I mean, that's a really good question, right? Because I really didn't know. I mean, I felt like this before. I'd be walking up a hill, and then I'd feel this throbbing in my throat and such.
Yep.
And so, believe it or not, I went on to Amazon, and I ordered this little tablet. It's called Kardia. I don't know if you guys can see it, right? It's a little pad.
Oh yeah.
Right? It was $90. So what I did is I ordered the pad, and it came through Amazon. I put the app in my phone, and I went on it, and what it does is it takes your heart rate, and it tells you on your phone, and it keeps a history of your heart rate on your pad on your phone. So if I go to Kardia right now on my phone, this is really a nice little way to give you security if you're feeling different, if you're feeling anxiety. But
cool.
Right. And so what I do is I put the pad down, I put my fingers on 30 seconds. It gives you your pulse rate.
Oh, wow.
And what I did is I woke up one morning feeling like that. So I went down, I grabbed my little Kardia thing, and I took my pulse rate, and I was at 170 beats per minute.
Yep.
Wow.
Right? Your average for the adult should be 60 beats per minute.
Yeah.
So I was already up at 170.
Wow.
And so it's like, wow, what is this? So I calmed myself down, and it went down. And then I had another episode where it went up. And so what I did is I took the rate, I sent it to email to myself, and I printed it on PDF.
Oh my
look at
God.
that. Wow.
So it gives you on
Beautiful.
PDF. So when I printed it, now a heartbeat should be like a normal pulse.
Yep.
So I printed it like this. I called my doctor, and I told him, I was feeling the machine actually told me I was an AFib, and so I
Wow.
told the doctor that I have this little thing. It tells me I'm an AFib, and he said, well, he kind of said, just take it easy, and we'll see, because you can't go in for a visit.
No.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I told him, I said, well, I'll tell you what, why don't I send you the PDF? So I sent him the PDF, and he told me, get in the car and go to the hospital.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Because you're an AFib. And so, so with that, I went to the hospital. I was in AFib, and I stayed in. I was at 160 to 170 beats for 3 days.
Now, can you
They-
explain what AFib actually is? Because I know my grandfather's had it, but for our listeners that might not be familiar, can you expand on
So
that?
I can actually show you what AFib is. So a normal heartbeat. Let's see if I have a copy of a normal one. I don't. So a normal heartbeat, you'll get your heart to go tick, right?
Yep.
Every 60 beats a minute, you'll get a tick up, right? AFib is you get something like this, where it's almost flatline and you just see it just fibrillating. So
Okay.
AFib is atrial fibrillation,
Right.
right? Atrial fibrillation, whereas your heartbeat is just fibrillating. It's not giving the steady pulse.
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I mean, that was a lifesaver for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And in fact, when I went to the hospital, I just brought the PDF with me, and in the emergency room, they were all passing it around. They admitted me that night, and they put me on an IV to kind of reduce. They put a beta blocker in there.
Yep.
Fibrillation, and then that kind of took care of that. And
Good.
And so they had me follow up with a cardiologist. And with the cardiologist, I ended up going in to do a stress test.
Yep.
And so I took the stress test, and within a few minutes, I went right back into AFib again.
Wow.
So they took me in and did a procedure called a catheterization. And believe it or not, a catheterization is where they actually go in. You might be able to see the little spot on my wrist right
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yep. Mhm.
Okay. They go into your wrist, and with sort of like a borescope, and they go up right into the arteries in your heart.
What?
And
Wow.
what the doctor
God.
did, and I took a picture of what he drew on the bulletin board, because what they found in my heart, it was in the left, one of the left main arteries.
Yep.
It was over 90% blocked.
Wow.
And, they called it a widowmaker. They said, you really don't find out on the testing, and that
Wow.
blockage was just stressing the heart. So they
So the other side of the heart, the other arteries of your heart were overcompensating for that being blocked, right?
That's
Wow.
correct. So here's what the doctor actually drew on the board, on the whiteboard in his office. In the hospital.
Yeah.
And basically, you can see it's the left main artery. It's coming off of the left main, and that right there is where it was blocked. And that's a diagram of what it should look like versus what it did look like.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That is something else.
So when you get something like that, it's actually stressing your heart.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And sooner, having your heart work so hard, sooner or later it just runs out of steam.
Right.
Yep.
So we were blessed. We were able to find out right there, and then they went into that artery with, and they actually blow it up like a balloon with the borescope they're in there with, and they insert a little metal mesh, which is called a stent.
Yep.
Okay.
And that stent has medication. It releases medication for like the first 3 months. so it mitigates the amount of scar tissue,
Mhm.
Okay.
and it kind of helps your body to accept the the stint in the artery.
So it doesn't reject it as a foreign object or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. So my biggest addition since then is not really bionic. It's really an increase on the medication. So
Wow.
Yeah.
keep track, okay?
Just making
And I
sure you
get
have
one for
everything
every
in order.
day of the month. So I have a morning,
Yep.
noon, evening, and night.
Wow.
There you go.
Taking,
Yeah.
blood
So it's just-
thinners, beta blockers, and
How long did it take you after they put it in to was it like one day and you're out of the hospital, or was it a several day thing?
it's one day and you're out of the hospital.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And to be honest with you, I mean, thank God we live with the technology we have today.
Seriously.
Right.
Because as soon as I woke up, I felt the difference. I mean, the
Really?
tightness in my neck was
Wow.
relieved. It takes a while, getting adjusted with the meds and such like that.
Yeah.
But overall, it's been a hell of an experience. And again, I even thank technology for helping me
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah. What was that called again?
It's called Kardia, Kardia.
Kardia. Okay. I'll
Yeah.
put a little thing up as a link so people can check it out if they want to look at that as a
Yeah,
product.
that's life-saving stuff right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually wrote a multi-page letter to the Kardia company after I came out of the hospital.
That's great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, because
Man.
I mean, you think about it with COVID. I mean, the doctors are very reluctant to have you come into the office. You're not feeling good. Well, take some aspirin, relax, or
Yeah.
something.
Right.
Whereas this was something.
It was serious. Yeah.
But
needed
see,
to be
someone,
life-saving.
someone like yourself that's able to, and that ties right in with the technology, someone like yourself who's able to, use the technology to then prove that, you're not just making something up, that you can actually print something and show something, that's taking control of your own, narrative of what's going on in your life, knowing that, no, this is something real, and here's the proof,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if people can learn to do more of that, kind of thinking for themselves on their own, that kind of ties back with what we were talking about. Then I think that we'd be better off as a society, not just relying on calling a doctor. Nope, you're fine. Take aspirin, go home. They're dead in 3 weeks, as opposed to taking it seriously by themselves. So that's great.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a phenomenal explanation of it, Matt, because that's exactly how I felt. I mean, I just walked in and I just showed the piece of paper. It's like if you're not walking in with your arm broken,
Yeah.
it's a cast, right? It's science, and then they put their science together, and that's what my cardiologist told me the same thing too. Whereas because back in January, I had what's called a calcium scan done on my heart because I wasn't feeling that good, which is why I ordered this.
Yeah.
And when they did the calcium scan, what it does is it takes a three-dimensional picture of your heart, and they can measure the calcium. So they said, oh yeah, your left main artery has a 60% blockage in the main artery, but they didn't find this over 90% blockage.
Oh, wow.
Right? The stress test just found that you were going into afibrillation, not knowing why.
Right.
And so by actually pointing something out, going in and showing it, it comes to fruition.
Yeah, put all the pieces together, and to paint a larger picture that no, something was actually wrong,
Yeah.
wild.
That's motivating for me too. Like I always think of my health; it's always changing. I mean, jokingly, Matt and I have this. Well, Matt knows of this story where I had an ear infection several years ago. I went to go see a doctor, and she focused on looking down my throat because she was really trying to push a lot of the sleep apnea medications and things. But I'd say that she technically diagnosed me with the smallest throat she's ever seen.
Dude,
so
Sal, if you were to look down this man's throat, I mean, it'd be a penny. It's a penny size.
you can't see
It's
down at all. It's
unbelievable.
crazy. So
It's why he yawns all the time.
So
Yawn.
we have a
He
thing,
doesn't get enough
hashtag young.
oxygen.
I'm not getting enough oxygen regularly. So I yawn a lot. I have trouble sleeping, but that's a really good thing. It's and I'm glad you just looked it up on Amazon, did some research, and we'll definitely plug that because that's definitely something that people could look into purchasing.
And that honestly, it gives people kind of a wake up call to like, take care of your own health. Like think about, I've certainly gained weight. I can't stop, eating food and drinking beer especially during this time where we're only home doing nothing, like lack of physical activity.
Yeah.
If anything, this is a wake up call for, not just me and Steve and yourself, but, everybody out there that does listen to this, don't just poo-poo any signs that make you feel weird, that your body is trying to tell you something. Go get checked out or ask the question. It can only help. It can't hurt, right?
Right.
So that's
I mean, we all have a fear of being labeled like a hypochondriac, right? But to tell you the truth, you need to go by your gut instinct. I mean, I'm very stubborn with it. I mean, I first went into
everyone in this room is stubborn.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I first went in the AFib in April, so I was able to come in with PDFs from April, and then 6 weeks later in January, and then February and March before I finally went into the hospital. So I think we really need to take a step back. If it looks like if it quacks like a duck, it probably is a duck, right? So
that's going to be the name of this podcast.
But listen, I think you said that. I think you actually said that about something when it was when we did our last podcast where Mark and Joe and everybody was with us. I swear to God, because there was a duck joke that was made, and I can't remember, and I'm not going to repeat it because I don't think it was good. But I do remember something about that. That's hilarious.
We'll have to look that up.
Well, I got to tell you, that's that really is fascinating information. We appreciate you. I think the last thing that I want to know to kind of wrap this up is when the pandemic is over and we can finally flap our wings and fly out into the world. Where is Sal and Kim and your loved ones? Where are you guys going to go? What do you want to do? What have you been waiting to do that you can't do?
So the biggest thing right now, I'm a big person for crowds. I love crowds. I'd love to go to like a convention or something, right?
Yeah.
Do something with a lot of people, go to the Jersey boardwalk or something. But ultimately, since March being locked in the house, even February to now being locked in the house, I miss family in New Jersey, right? Your family that's far away. I miss that. I mean, I was going on a plane, quite often on trips and whatnot. I don't do any of that now.
Yep.
But the biggest thing I miss of it all is family that's away. And I know I'd like to go on a beach down the Jersey Shore and be around people, which is phenomenal to do. But the biggest thing I think that we're going to do is we're going to get down in Carolinas, awesome. Visit the family, Jersey, visit the family.
That's
great. I think I kind of I myself feel kind of the same. I feel the need for kind of reinforcements around me. I need that reinforced humanity, if you will. I need to feel like there's a normal again. I want to go to a patio bar and have a couple beers with my friends and not worry about the fact that we're shoulder to shoulder and, oh, try this beer. Oh, let me try yours. Something about sharing those experiences with other humans. It's funny that, I used to joke like, oh, I'm antisocial. I don't really want to go out anywhere. Now I would pay to be able to go and do those kind of things that I was kind of like hesitant to do before.
Right.
So I'm with you there. What about you, Steve?
But mostly I would have thought you would have said you're going to go for a haircut first.
He needs one so bad.
I do. I'm actually going to go to the Dominican place down the street, and they're going to fade me up real tight.
So that's good. That's good.
You ought to pay him double.
Yeah,
right?
Trust me, I will. I'm thinking about donating to like what is it? Locks for, what do they call it? Locks.
You need
for
way
love
more hair
like
than that. They can't do anything with a helmet. They need long locks.
No, he's literally gonna cut it so that it just comes off like in one piece.
Yeah, I'd say for us, we love going out on and just road trips. We would, we usually we did one back in February. We went to Atlantic City for the first time. We walked the boardwalk of Atlantic City, loved it. So yeah, for me, it's just like that first chance we get to go do a road trip and go far, go down to Virginia, go down to Florida or something like that. We love doing that. So that's definitely what we're looking forward to once this is all done.
Important
stuff. Well, listen, Sal, we appreciate you so much. You know that. We can't wait till all this stuff is over and we can get out to the Terrezza homestead and grill out and chill in the back and have Omar and Scout and everybody all together. And by then there'll be that little meatball that's on its way. And we'll all have time.
Little meatball. Yep.
All right. Well, Sal, we're gonna just have a little post show thing, but we would just love to have you back on whenever you're like. I mean, this is just so fun to have you on. It's so knowledgeable. Just and we consider you a good friend of ours, so we really
also pre Happy Father's Day, Sal. Just wanted to let you know.
Thank you.
I know that my dad has to be number one because he's my father, but you're the second favorite dad. All right, so
I like
you, man.
All right, Sal. Well, thank you so much again, bud. You have a good rest of your day. Okay.
Okay.
Appreciate
Always
you,
a
bud.
pleasure. You guys take care.
All right, take care, Sal.
Okay. Yep. Bye now.
All right.
Dude,
there he is.
That went splendidly.
That was so great. What a gem. What a gem of a human.
He's just like, God, he's just Sal. Like, you can't say anything, but it's just Sal, man.
This, when people say one of a kind, I mean, there's just no one else like Sal Terrezza. There really isn't.
He's the man. And they make some mean Italian food, him and Kim.
Dude, they just have it figured out. When we went to their house, and I was just seeing his backyard, how decorated it was, and then he had his office. Looks like, I feel like he's the Secretary of State.
Dude, I mean, he worked for the DOD, so I mean, he was and is, the real deal. I mean, he, just like, I just can't wait to go grill and chill. You, me, Mark, Joe, Christy, everybody out back there, Sammy, we're out back on the porch. Oh my gosh, that's what I want.
Yeah, man, me too, for sure. I didn't have anything else left to talk about. I just knew that if we played a song going out and he couldn't hear it, he'd be like, "What am I doing? We're dancing."
Like, what am I? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this has been It's the Future podcast, episode 68. My name is Steve Lanza Jr.
I'm Matt Legier, and we want you guys to have a fantastic weekend. Happy Father's Day. Mm-hmm. Also, happy Juneteenth, a.k.a. Happy Freedom Day.
Yep.
From African-American friends out there. And, yeah, Black Lives Matter. We want everyone staying safe out there from COVID-19. And I think that about covers it.
Yeah, man. Well said. And we'll see you guys next time.
It's the future.